This video is about the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula helps us find solutions or x-intercepts when our equation is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So what we do is we use our a, b, and c values in the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So before we start getting into the quadratic formula, we're going to learn two skills today that are helpful for quadratic formula. The first is identifying our a, b, and c values, and the second is once we have it simplified, how do we enter it into a calculator? So whenever we do quadratic formula and we identify our a, b, and c values, it always needs to be in an equation that has x squared first, x second, and the number third. The a value is always in front of your x squared term. So our a value is always in front of the x squared. The b value is always in front of the x with whatever sign it has. And the c value is always the number that is by itself with whatever sign it has. So in this case, number 1, there's nothing in front of the x squared, which means that that's just going to be a positive 1. So our a value is positive 1. Our b value is what's in front of the x, which is negative 6. And the c value is the number that's by itself, which is 5. In number 2, the a value is what's in front of the x squared, so negative 5. The b value is what's in front of the x, 9. And the c value is by itself, negative 2. In 3, the a value is 3. The b value is in front of the x, so negative 5. And the c value is by itself, negative 9. In number 4, the a value is in front of the x squared, so it's 2. The value in front of the x. Now, there's not a number, but there is a negative sign, so this is going to be negative 1. And the c value is the number by itself. Now, once we've used our a, b, and c values and we substitute them into the quadratic formula and solved, we're going to get something that looks like these on the bottom. So all we're going to do today is we're going to work on putting them into the calculator. Now, notice that they all have a plus or minus sign. So what's going to happen is we need to split these fractions into two different problems. One that has a plus sign and one that has a minus sign. So in number 5, I'm going to split this and I'm going to rewrite everything else the same except for the plus or minus sign. So the first time I'm going to have negative 3 plus the square root of 81 divided by 6. And the second time I'm going to have negative 3 minus the square root of 81 over 6. When we enter this in the calculator to get our answer, we're going to first enter the numerator, which is the top of the fraction, hit enter, and then we're going to divide by the denominator. So in this case, we would have negative 3 plus the square root's above the squared key, so we need to hit second and the squared button, 81, enter, and then we divide by the denominator, which in this case is 6, so we would do divide by 6, and we get 1 for our first answer. And then we're going to do the same thing again, but now we're going to subtract. So negative 3 minus second square root 81 divide by 6 gets us negative 2. So in this case, we got nice integers. That's not always going to happen. Sometimes we're going to get decimals when we substitute it. So number 6, when we split it apart, we have 5 plus the square root of 24 divided by 4, and 5 minus the square root of 24 divided by 4. So in the calculator, we're going to do 5 plus second square root 24, enter, and then divide by 4. Now, when we have decimals, we're going to round to the nearest hundredth, which is 2 decimal places. So I have 2.47. The number next to the 7 is also a 4. So that means that my 7 stays where it's at. So we're going to round to 2.47. The second time, 5 minus the square root of 24 divided by 4. Now this time I have 0.02, but the number next to the 2 is a 5, so we're going to round up to 0.03. Let's try one more. Now, number 7 is going to have a special case because the square root of 0. So let's see what happens when we do that. We have negative 3 plus the square root of 0 over negative 8, and negative 3 minus the square root of 0 over negative 8. So in the calculator, negative 3 minus the square root of 0 divided by -8, and that rounds to 0.38. Let's do that again with the minus, so -3 minus the square root of 0, divide by -8, and I get the same thing. So notice that when I have the square root of 0, I'm going to get my same answer twice, which makes sense because the square root of 0 is 0, and when we add or subtract 0, the number we're adding or subtracting from doesn't change, so it's going to be the same answer both times.